In this week's episode, we learn about the problems with using AI in helping us at a hazmat scene.
Whether it's research, it's tactical considerations, it's problem solving, or even it's thinking outside the box, the problem is AI is not easy to fix it being stupid.
If you like this and you watch, like and subscribe.
You know what the worst part about getting on a hazmat scene?
Oh, knowing you're going to be there for the next 4.5 hours.
That, but also uncertainty. You have no idea what's in the air.
Ugh, and all this, it's just the chemical isn't cutting it anymore. We need answers, and we kind of need them quickly.
That's where the Explorer comes in. Real-time chemical IDs and quantification right in the field.
Yeah, so you're not just turning around going, oh, it's probably something bad. It's going to tell you exactly what's there and exactly how much.
So you can put up the safety zones like an adult and not a rookie guessing where to put the tape.
Which means defensible quantitative data in seconds, making decisions a hell of a lot easier.
No more waiting around for an answer, just solid, life-saving intel.
Yeah, so go learn more about the Explorer and stop guessing. Check out 908devices.com.
On a hazmat call, the question is never if radiation matters, it's where you're going to find it.
Yeah, and half the time it's coming to find you. That's why the unknowns, as far as things that are in the rad, are one of the first things that we should be checking when we get on scene.
And that's one of the problems, because you're not seeing it, you're not smelling it, and if you miss it, you're already in it.
Yeah, so that's why teams are stepping in with Teledyne's FLIR Defense Identifinders.
That is this isn't a one-size-fits-all tool either. They got handheld rids, they got wearable personals, even backpack systems.
Yeah, so whether you're the first guy walking into the building or you're just looking at the bigger picture of the scene, there's something that fits the job you're doing.
These aren't tools just for theory. They are out there getting used every day by teams that actually rely on radiation data to make decisions.
Learn more, search for the FLIR Identifinder. That's F-L-I-R Identifinder. And as we promised, we were going to look into the solutions for the battery fires. And while many companies have presented their products to us, there is one noteworthy one we'd like to mention because it does actually extinguish the lithium-ion battery fires. It works on multiple classes of fires. It helps prevent the fire from spreading and prevent the lithium-ion batteries from reigniting.
And before that, keyboard warrior starts caps locking asking for proof. The links are in the show notes for UL Class A and B, as well as BSI, for 10 categories, including that lithium-ion battery test.
And I promise you, we've put it through our own set of field tests. And I got to be honest with you, we were impressed by the results. So we suggest you do your own myth busting. It's available in a variety of options to integrate into your current process. You can access it by checking out Fire Suppression Solutions or click on the link in the show notes.
Well. AI again.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how, I thought it was just going to be one of these, like, yeah, we're going to throw AI around once in a while. Like, we're learning about it. Everybody's learning about it. It has become a massive topic of conversation. We've been to a couple of conferences over the past month or so, and more than a handful, more than a dozen people have come up and been like, oh, I've been listening to the AI episodes. I've been playing with the AI episodes. I love talking about the AI episodes. I personally can't really stand the AI episodes because I'm not up to speed on tech, so I don't get to like spew any of my knowledge and experience. But luckily, Bob is on the cutting edge of all the AI stuff between Reddit posts and this and this and this. So we've taken a compilation of things that we've seen in the classroom, playing with AI is a kind of a technical reference, things that we have actually done ourselves and things that people have emailed us being like, hey, AI kind of like really screwed this up. This is what I put in and this is what it gave me. We're going to present these to Bob, and we're going to find out from Bob's point of view what went wrong, whether it was the AI, whether it was the person, whether it was a combination of each. So you in for this ride, Bob?
Let's do it. I can already. I don't have very much inclination of where we're going with this. I have a very high level understanding before we start. Just so I'm kind of shooting this from the hip. So let's throw it at me. Let's do it.
All right, sounds good. All right. Mixed load box trucks, pools, chemicals. Basic run view of the incident, right? We have a box truck that's rolled over. Strong chlorine smell mixed with the load is a mixed retail pool supply. We also have fuel and antifreeze that is leaking. The prompt that was used during the class, I think this was a classroom one, truck rollover, leaking pool chemicals, and chlorine smell. What PPE and isolation distance do I use? The AI put out use level B protection with SCBA, isolate 120 feet, avoid water contact due to the reactivity.
Oh yeah.
All right, Bob. So yeah, right. What went wrong here?
All right, a couple of things. You're not you, whoever was this guy. You gotta. What I've been finding is some people like to type, but I find that stream of consciousness where when you just hit the microphone button and you just ramble, the more context you give to these prompts, the better it is. And words matter, right? When the guy was saying leaking pool chemicals, that is horrible. Because you could have a million different pool chemicals. Like there's algicides and there's dry acid and bases and trichlor and dichlor and muriatic acid. And so what you're saying is you're saying a generality, and with generalities, it's going to give you a shitty output, right? So the better your input, the better the output. Garbage in, garbage out, right? I think that's going to be universal throughout this episode, but it's true in this one. Pool chemicals, you need to give it the pool chemical or these pool chemicals, like not just say pool chemical. That's not going to work.
So what do you think are some of the things that what would you have changed, right? If you were in tech ref and you were doing this versus the AI, what kinds of things would you have, what would you have changed? And I guess it's more based upon the context because you're there, what you would have changed, but without the context, what kind of things would you think to add in?
I think a lot of people when they're doing this, they're trying to be concise and quick, and the more rambling and descriptive you are to the thing, as if you're just telling your doddering old mom the scenario, like be descriptive, like you're writing a novel. It was a brisk Tuesday morning, the air was damp with like that gives it context. Like the more you ramble into the microphone, the better its output going to be, right?
So the typical guy way of like answering a question where it's like, how was your day? Good.
Fine.
I ate pizza. Right. That's like you almost need like the wife answer, right? Where it's a 3-day diatribe and there's multiple characters and there's subplots.
Yep, that's exactly it. And so when you put in pool chemicals, it gave you back like basically it started giving you like, isolate 100, 200 feet, right? That how that might have been way too small. Like you cannot just say, oh, well, it said 100, 200 feet, we're done. You're going to need pH in air. You're going to need pH on, on surface. You still need maybe a chlorine meter to give you those information, because one thing that it's not going to do very well, because the input didn't ask for this stuff, is that this could potentially be a binary reaction, right? You could have pool chemicals mixing with something, generating a gas, right? It's like all you need is certain pool chemicals mixing with an acid to generate chlorine, right? And so you need to ask those questions.
Which is why you then needed to be specific with what the chemicals were, because it's not going to assume what's in the back of the pool truck, so therefore missing the gas generation.
Right. Like I would definitely articulate like the environment, like saying, okay, I have an overturned box truck. For this scenario, and I'm imagining how this laid out in my mind based upon our conversation. Pool truck laid on its side. It's raining out, right? It's cold. Chemical reactions get cold, like slower. I would say I have this list of chemicals. I do have some liquids coming from the engine compartment. It could potentially be radiator fluid, diesel fluid, DEF fluid, whatever it is. I'm looking. I have nothing on my meters. Bigger context, better output.
So, we talk about in class that 30-70 rule, right?
Yep.
Do you think that idea of the 30-70 rule applies to AI as well, where it's like if you're putting in information, right? You arrive on scene, I got a pool truck overturned, and you're just throwing that in there without waiting to gather more of the information. Maybe you went to AI a little too soon.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the 30-70 rule. I mean, there is a point where I'm just vomiting a novella into the microphone, and it's like, get to the point. We got to get there at some point. I definitely agree with that. However, there is also a too short. Like his input of this thing, a single sentence is going to give you a shit output. It's got to be multiple sentences and context to get a good output.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, speaking of multiple senses to get a good output, the second one, the one that I'm bringing up right now, is kind of interesting to me because I don't necessarily feel like the AI output was wrong in any way, shape, or form. But it was, if you were to look at it, you would definitely be like, but it's not putting it to the technician level. It's like keeping it at the defensive level. So I'll read what the incident was. 55-gallon drum leaking in warehouse. No labels, slight vapors. Workers report dizzy. All right, that's the incident. The prompt was unknown chemical leaking with vapor causing dizzy. What should I do? The AI turned around and said, evacuate the area, use air monitoring equipment to identify the substance, wear the appropriate PPE such as gloves and respirator.
All right. So evacuate the area. Use air monitoring equipment to identify the substance. That. If I got that back, that's completely non-actionable. Like, what are you going to do? Like, it's basically you were probably better off not talking to GPT at all.
Right. I mean, you were going to do that anyway. But I almost feel like the prompt was like an awareness level input gave you an awareness level output.
Right. It's basically saying go to like Guide 111 and just Hail Mary the thing.
Right.
There's one of the things that, and again, I don't think you should write these things down as like, this is what you have to say. But I definitely think there should be a cheat sheet on the rig of like, at the end of your context laden input, you should ask for these outputs to be generated, right? And one of the things that I like to ask for is, give me my metering strategy based upon this input. Like, give me some isolation guidance, like, and with context, like explain why you're saying these things. Because if you're not getting that framework out, such as, explain it to me in the API format. Like, these are good things to say. This isn't, I'm not saying this is easy. I'm just saying have it not just give you an answer, but have it argue why it's giving you that answer. So that way you can say, you're being an idiot. I'm just going to start a new chat and we're going to do this again. Because that's another thing is people don't do a lot is when you open up a new chat and you have this instance of conversation with GPT or Gemini or wherever it is, if you were to take that vomiting context block of you saying that and cut and paste that into a brand new GPT instance or a Gemini or Perplexity or Claude or Anthropic, whatever you're doing, each time you do it, it's going to give you a completely different output. And so I would recommend cut and pasting that one long vomit of context into a couple of different things and see what it gives you on multiple different outputs. Because somewhere in the middle of that thing, it's probably going to give you something good.
Yeah, I like that. So we're almost using that 3 reference rule that we did for books, but we're using it with the different types of GPTs that are out there.
Right. And I think it builds a better book for you, because you can say, wow, instance 1 GPT said this, that's interesting. Gemini's second instance said this. All based upon the same context input, different outputs.
Huh. All right. Well, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Yes. Today's episode is brought to you by Rigaku Analytical Devices, who are the folks who have been perfecting 1064 nanometer Raman longer than some of you guys have been doing hazmat.
Yeah, they just launched their 4th generation handheld analyzer, the Icon X, which is built specifically for the real world stuff that we, the hazmat teams, come across every day, right? We're talking about dirty powders, mixed materials, dyes, colors, all the things that throw our other meters into complete temper tantrums.
And that 1064 nanometer laser means reduced fluorescence, so you get fast, reliable chemical IDs in under a minute instead of waiting for that blank screen of wondering what went wrong.
And this isn't just like an upgrade. This is an entire new platform, which means an entirely new entire toolbox. I said entirely too many times. It supports new accessories, includes standoff analyzation, and it's going to get you answers without getting too close.
So if you want an analyzer that's been evolving right alongside the hazmat world, check out Rigaku's newest Raman at rigakuanalytical.com. You know what I love about the city?
I don't know what you love about the city, but there's not much that I love at all about the city.
Yeah,
Gotta be honest with you.
I read stories about it. It's the e-scooter gangs that are ripping through the city.
Oh, yes, the e-scooter gates, because I got to tell you, nothing screams hazmat like a moped battery that's about to go nuclear.
That's where Obexian FR saves the day.
It's great stuff, lightweight, mobile-friendly, and designed for first responders, because the last thing that we need is to be bringing around extra weight when things heat up.
And it's third-party tested to lower toxic gases below the ideal H levels.
Which means you could actually breathe while overpacking that scooter.
So if you need more, Obexian FR comes by the pallet or in certified poly drum kits.
So it's perfect when you're at the scene of a whole bunch of batteries and you go, holy crap, we're going to need a lot more of this.
So protect your team and your lungs. Go more at thehazmatguys.dgeo.com. That's thehazmatguys.dgeo.com. All right.
All right. Next
back.
one. Going to talk a little bit about Railcar. Part of the instances that I see people in class putting in, right, is they're again, and it's probably a too soon type thing, like hold off and wait to give more information. They're using the ChatGPT during every step of the analyzation. So here's one that happened in class: railcar derailment, placard was a 1203, strong odor, vapor cloud forming, the whole 9 yards. The prompt was, what is the safe distance for gasoline rail car leak? The AI put out, isolate 150 feet in all directions for a gasoline spill. That feels a little too close, no?
Yeah, especially considering all the Reacts videos we put out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is, again, a weak input. I would say, it probably pulled like the small spill guidance from the ERG, which is publicly referenced, but it did ignore probably just the volume that a rail car can hold. It didn't take into account terrain and weather because you didn't put that in. If it's a hot day, those vapors can really pancake and push out. And the potential for vapor cloud explosion, right? So, and actually, you know what? Now that I think about it a little bit more, is like there's no distinction between a spill or a vapor release. And so it didn't really scale the issue. One thing that just popped in my head is that, and I've had this happen recently, is that if you're using, let's say, the company, right? The hazmat company has a AI account, or it's free, or the paid one, or whatever it is. What I've seen is that remember, it's not built upon each instance being a unique incident. What they're doing now is these AI tools are built for Mike, right? Where Mike is the only guy using this tool, this ChatGPT or Gemini, and so therefore it's trying to make your life better by integrating past conversations into this conversation, right? So it starts saying, "Oh, well, he had a gasoline incident like a month ago. Those parameters are probably brought into this incident." So there's a setting. I know in Gemini, it's in that instance. Currently, you have to hit the plus sign, and then you say, use past information in this conversation. But in ChatGPT, it's actually in like the global preferences where it says use historical data or something like that. You need to turn that off. Because if not, it's going to start referencing past hazmat incidents in this output. And that might not be what you want.
So could I, if I had like a Gemini or ChatGPT, and you're telling me that it references past history, and the AI can also learn, could I turn around and put in the mistakes that Gemini or ChatGPT or the AI did and helped prompt it for the future to ask for context?
Yeah, probably. That would probably be like a global instruction that I would program into like globally in the thing. But the danger of it is that it might give you outputs that you're assuming are true based upon an incident that Fred had a month and a half ago.
Okay.
And is not for this incident that we're dealing with today. And that's one of the things is I caught it a bunch of times. I'm like, where the hell did you get that information? It's not raining out today. And it's because the last time I talked to it about an incident, it was raining. Or it'll say, well, because you have a dog. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? A dog? And it's because I was asking for like somebody went into the rig and said, hey, I need to get my dog's nails clipped. Right, where do I go around my home that does this? And it says, oh, well, that's part of the context base for this thing. And so you're like, because you have a dog and it's closer to the ground, the gasoline vapors are probably not good for it. You should probably go back 250 feet. You're like, where the hell did you get that?
So all the inputs that Hazmat uses to like figure out where the best spot to eat is could all come into play during a Hazmat run.
It could. It definitely, I've caught it a bunch of times. On Gemini, I know specifically I have to turn it on and off based upon what the output I want. And I think in GPT, you have to basically say, yeah, all this stuff is independent instances every single time.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Last one, and then we'll wrap it up. Definitely my favorite topic in the whole world. I know it's one of yours too. Lithium-ion battery fires. And what does it have to say? And I think this actually came out of one of the battery classes where somebody was just like, "Well, ChatGPT says to do this." I don't even think it was Chat. I think maybe they were using Perplexity. But electric vehicle fire post crash, reignition after knockdown. Of course, there's a reignition after knockdown. There's always a reignition after knockdown. The prompt is, how do I extinguish lithium-ion battery fires? The AI came out and said, use large amounts of water or Class D fire extinguishing to suppress the fire.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that is kind of coming out, and you might know this, you might not know this, dear listener, is that the vast majority of how they trained these things, surprisingly, is Wikipedia and Reddit. Right? And there's Reddit specifically is a treasure trove of inaccurate descriptions.
That's insane.
Yeah, it is a lot of people that have these best practices and, like these things that are just blatantly wrong, right? And they'll say, oh, I just shoveled some sand on batteries or something like that. Class D extinguishing agents are not right for lithium-ion battery packs. We said this before, lithium-ion battery packs, for the most part, are lithium salts and not the element lithium. If you have the element lithium, Class D. Go all day. But there's no mention of like thermal runaway or propagation. There's no long duration cooling, the gases that are coming off these things. So it's oversimplified for what you could make an argument is a complex hazard, right? It blended like metal fires with lithium ion battery fires. And a lot of that shit is probably just straight up Reddit dregs that are just having conversation with like absolutely no hazmat context in it, and they're just like, this is more gooder, and it's like, no, that's not good. And it's giving you an output based upon their insane ramblings on Reddit.
Okay, so I don't actually know how the back ends of the AI works, but from all the conversations that I've had with you, I kind of get the idea that it searches all these things, and it's like, okay, well, I've got 52% of the people say to do this, 20% say to do this, 5% say to do this. So it kind of weighs its decision out based upon the amount of that information that it can find. So would that mean that AI would be very poor in being on the cutting edge of new techniques? Like, for example, if there was some magic powder to come out that just instantly put out lithium-ion batteries and made it safe, it would probably be a while before that would come up as a potential solution that AI would recognize.
Yeah, from what I understand, like specifically from like Reddit, a theory was posed to the group, and there was a lot of people agreeing with it. Therefore, it's trending more towards the truth side. It could be completely wrong, like a conspiracy theory, like, oh, I'm making something stupid. Like 9/11 was an inside job. And a lot of people go, yeah, this says, oh, okay. A lot of people agree with that. Now it's true.
Right. Without taking the context that the people that don't agree with it won't even engage with the people that agree with it. So all it's seeing is true reaffirmations.
Right. If the consensus is that this is true, it's going to espouse that as truth. Whereas, like that's opinion-based stuff, and opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, but I don't want to dissuade people. I think people are using AI whether we like it or not. I just want people to understand all the context. Is like, I don't think a lot of people, I completely forgot about talking about that, is that the context-based things is historical, and if you don't have that disabled, it could change the trajectory of your incident.